Hey everybody, Jason Burmis here, and normally I'd really be happy to have my friend Dan Dix on the program because Dan is one of those guys that gives a great insight into what is actually going on in the world and hands-on journalism. Unfortunately, today while I was eating my breakfast, I get a DM from him, and he has now been completely taken off this platform without warning. And a lot of people would say, Jason, aren't you worried about the same thing, especially having him on? I've been worried about this for some time. And there comes a time where we have to really start to confront these things, and it's long overdue. So, Dan, you and I have known each other for over a decade, well over a decade. We're running on a decade and a half plus, right? I mean, that's where we're at.
Yeah.
And we think we see it all. We think we can have integrity and put the truth out there, and it matters, and it used to. It used to be able to go viral. But you literally were out at lockdown protests in Toronto, and that's when I think some of the more major censorship started to happen against you, where you were literally just taken off live for showing what was going on in the streets. So, I mean, first, let's get everything out of the way. You can still and always will be able to find Dan Dix at pressfortruth.ca, okay? And the thing is that the algorithm is going to delist any of his stories anyway, because Google is the first largest search engine in the world and YouTube is the second, and he's just been banned from YouTube. And I hate to even endorse another tech platform, but Twitter at Dan Dix PFT, and of course at Press for Truth. So I know that if I lost my YouTube channel, I'd be pretty bummed, and I'm sure it was just a blow to you. Tell us when you found out, how you feel about it, anything else you want to get off your chest, and then we'll get into it, because the ramifications of this are real on so many things beyond YouTube, and that's another thing that people don't want to admit. So I'm going to end my rant, and I'm going to let you take it from here, Dan.
Well, I tell you, man, it was a bit of a shock to the system. I mean, I knew this was coming. I've been saying it for years and trying to direct my audience over to other platforms in anticipation of the coming censorship that we knew was coming down the pipe. But still, to wake up with no current strikes, no copyright strikes, no community guideline strikes, nothing of the nature, and no email saying, oh, we're sorry about the news, but you've been terminated. Here's how you can appeal it. Nothing. It was just, I have no access to the channel anymore. And people started messaging me, hey, how come I can't access this video or that video? And then all of a sudden it dawned on me, oh my God, they killed the account. They flipped the switch. They did it. They pulled the plug. And yeah, man, it sucks initially, because we're talking 14 years of my life here. We're talking 270,000 subscribers, 5 documentary films, 1,500 videos or so. I think the last time I checked, it was around 35 million video views. I mean, it was starting to come together. It was really starting to reach people. And that's when they decided to pull the plug, because 2020 has been crazy, Jason. And like you said, a lot of crazy things have been happening to me in 2020, and this has only been bringing more attention to PFT. And I don't think the establishment likes that, because I'm speaking out against the status quo, and now obviously they've decided to pull the plug. So it's frustrating, but at the same time, I'm still hopeful that there's going to be brighter pastures on the other side. I think this may be a blessing in disguise, really, as I start to venture onto all these other more decentralized, censorship-free platforms, and we can get into those as well. But yeah, not a great thing to wake up to today, man.
Just because you brought up these decentralized platforms, I really hope that you're going to get on Rockfin, because that's a way that, these people are allowing people to live stream. Still not an app for it. I think that's obviously key for you and I, especially you when you're on the ground. And I think it's the one thing that's missing. But you can still do live reporting here, and it's, if people want to endorse you and you want to make it premium, it's $9.99 a month, and then you get not only a chance to make money if you want, but to be a part of that network. And they've been really great. Jimmy Dore just came over. I think it needs some more people that are outside of both paradigms. And that's where you can find me if this channel's erased, you know. And I'm going to say it right now. I still would not be able to be on the road right now where I am in South Dakota without that platform, because I have been able to use it as kind of a nest egg. I have taken a couple grand out as I'm out on the road. And I want to thank all of you out there that are doing this. Now, the other way I do it, and the main way I do it, Dan, is GoFundMe. And yet, after you were arrested for basically reporting on these Black Lives Matter protests, after people came up to you, physically intimidated you, assaulted you, came up with a speaker to try to get you banned off the platform that way with a copyright strike, and then ultimately, as the police just refuse to do their job and protect you from the mob, you get hit in the head with a bottle. Now, none of that gets taken down live, I've noticed. See, it's such a weird and arbitrary thing, but then you start a GoFundMe. You get to, I think, about $7,000 to get some of the equipment you weren't able to get back because, yes, equipment was destroyed, taken, folks, all of this stuff. And remember, Dan's the one that got arrested, okay? That's the lunacy of it all. Then GoFundMe arbitrarily decides to not let you be on that platform. That's scary. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, man, that one was a real shock. That one I did not see coming. You know, the amazing viewers of Press for Truth gave out of the goodness of their pockets and their heart. And all I was hoping to raise was $800. And I actually said in the campaign, anything that's raised beyond the $800 to replace my GoPro is greatly appreciated. You know, I need all the help I can get moving forward with Press for Truth. And sure enough, they delivered, man. It was amazing. I was so thankful and grateful. $7,000. I was like, wow, that's incredible. I went out that night and bought the GoPro. I was like, this is great. Next morning, I go to try to withdraw the funds. And same thing, no email notification. I just started getting notifications on my phone of saying this donation has been refunded, this one refunded, this one refunded. And I was like, what is going on? I went to my GoFundMe campaign online and I refreshed it, and I literally watched it after a few refreshes go from 7,000 to 6 to 5, 4, 3, all the way down to nothing. And then I couldn't log in anymore. And I've still to this day, Jason, not heard back from them. I keep emailing them. I can't log into my account. I literally have used the same password for a long time on both campaigns that they terminated, and it's not letting me log in. So I try the forgot password link and I get a spinny wheel every single time. Doesn't matter what browser I use, anything. So there's some shenanigans going on there, Jason. And what I think is that this cancel culture has gotten so bad that the mob can influence someone like GoFundMe to the point where they can kowtow to them, not knowing anything about whether or not their accusations are true or not. And they would just, dare not upset the mob and have me canceled and just pull the plug. And I think that's what happened. And it's possible that something like that is similar with what happened with YouTube. You know, a lot of people have been even openly saying on Twitter, I'm going to try to get you taken down and we're going to work on getting you shut down. And, you know, here we are. So I don't know. Either this is a mix between a campaign of people who don't like what I'm saying and the establishment who's in fear of what I'm saying, or it's probably more of the latter, because they had the power to shut me down, and they did.
Well, you know, this brings us to my next point. You know, somebody, you know, for instance, today when I said, you know, if you believe in free speech, you have to realize you got to get behind Dan Dix of Press for Truth. When I reposted on Facebook when I got into my hotel room that you'd been taken down, and you know, I had somebody come in and say, well, you know, not to be a troll or anything like that, but why not with this following build a website? I mean, and I go, you mean like the one he's had for over 10 years? And I posted it. And of course, it was one of those adversarial things. They want to talk about Google being a business. It is not. Let us repeat this, because I think that's what people don't understand. All right. Fascism, for all you Antifa crowd out there that were calling him a white supremacist, that have no idea about this man, my friend, somebody who's been an honest purveyor of truth for well over a decade. Okay. Fascism is when corporations and governments make partnerships. So now, live on air, I'm going to give these people a little lesson, Dan, on what fascism looks like. Fascism looks like Google. And let me tell you why. It is not a business. Google, okay, and NASA partnership. Now, they're not going to space, but, well, they say they are. They say Mars, but that's not what it is. When they partner, because that's the language they actually use. They make quantum computing and AI the two biggest factors in technology right now, the two biggest factors in the algorithm, the two biggest factors in censorship. So right there, that should alarm you that we have a fascistic system where Google is the first largest search engine in the world. YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world. That should raise monopoly and trust busting questions, but it doesn't, because we're canceling the trust buster Teddy Roosevelt. People don't even know who he is at this point. That's how dumbed down we've become, Dan. Makes me really upset. But then you have the censorship aspect of COVID 1984, where actual doctors are being censored left and right. In fact, I was telling you before the broadcast today, Cameron Siddell, the first doctor to go viral about the ventilators, and that this isn't ARDS, it's something different. He's had his video taken down. I got a notification I got my video taken down. If you go to my Twitter, and we might as well just, again, do it live, because these people know I didn't. There's nothing about the community standards. If you can't have a doctor, a medical professional who's treating people talk about this stuff, it's a medical martial law, Dan, right? Mm-hmm. And if they can cancel you from GoFundMe and PayPal, were they canceling people from Visa back in the 80s when that was the technology? Of course not. There would have been lawsuits. But they somehow are getting away with this. And I want to show, what I wrote to these people, because I still can't even believe it. But you can, because they took down the actual doctor's video. Let's see if we can zoom in at all. Oh, let's see. Hold on, guys. Nope. It says this violates zero guidelines. Oh, nice. Of course. Come on, guys. It violates zero guidelines, and I won't get a human response because you've never given me one. And that's the thing. They're accountable to no one. The question is, Dan, when are you and I going down to their headquarters and demanding answers? I'm ready.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, Jason, the time for that may have been yesterday, as in a couple of years ago, back when the domino started to fall. And perhaps that first domino was Alex Jones, but there's been an incremental move after that. I mean, look, just last week there was Stefan Molyneux's channel and Max Egan's channel, and then now mine, and yours is going to be next. I hate to say, and there's others are coming too. This is a purge. This is an incremental move, a censorship move, where they're trying to essentially remove our voices from this particular platform, change it, unskewed opinion when the next false flag or the next war or the next big thing happens, and you're going to say, I want to learn about that. You're sick of the TV, you go to the internet, you're just going to have one skewed opinion by just ignoring this monopoly that they have and following us on these other platforms. And Jason, this is why I, for the last few years, actually have been focusing as a hedge against this coming censorship that I knew was coming. I've been kind of spreading my eggs out into content creators like us, might go for truth, library, lbry.tv/press4truth, float.app/DanDixPFT, and I'll probably use DLive to go live, DLive, I think it's dlive.tv/press4truth, and maybe the new one that you mentioned as well, if I can go live there. But
technology, actually, they just went away. It's the same with the thing. We talk about the fact that they're the search engines. Well, Google is also the largest operating system on phones. And the other largest operating system just put COVID 1984 contact tracing apps on everybody's iOS. You know what I'm saying? The other alarming thing is,
I'm not sure if it's frozen on your side, but it looks like I'm frozen on my end. But
you're good now.
If I'm not on yours.
Yeah. You're
okay. Good.
You were going in and out before, but you are A-okay right now. And plus, we tape this, and actually, I will be re-uploading it to Rockfin. Right now, we stream both to Twitter and to YouTube because, again, I've got to hedge my bets, just like you were saying. To get back to the point On the operating systems, let's talk about a guy named Eric Schmidt, because this is the technopoly we talk about, right? This is the beyond left-right paradigm. Now, Eric Schmidt, for those that don't know, is the former CEO and founder of Google. He then moved in to Alphabet. Supposedly, he doesn't do anything anymore. He's just too busy working with Cuomo for smart cities. Now, he also wrote The New Digital Age. And just a week and a half ago, seeing there's no Bilderberg and everything's online, the good people at the Johns Hopkins University put together an online consortium of people like Schmidt and Henry Kissinger and others. No big deal. And Schmidt said, you know what we need to look at with China? And remember, Schmidt was the guy behind Dragonfly, their censored version of the internet. You know, the guy behind Google, Dragonfly, weird, you know, both sides of the coin. He said, we need more of a Samsung Apple model where it's co-opetition. It's co-opetition. So what he's telling you is he doesn't want competition. He wants no competition. He wants authoritarianism. He's told you he wants one answer in his search engine, in his ideals. And he is one of these unaccountable, unelectable, unelected billionaires that are supposed to reimagine our future, especially in New York. How do we fight this future, my friend?
Well, interestingly enough, I confronted that man to his face about censoring conservative voices online when we were at Bilderberg, when he was there meeting with Henry Kissinger, discussing these things behind private closed doors. So of course he's still active. I saw the man. I approached him and I said, I think I brought up the fact that it was right after Alex Jones got memory hold from the internet. And there was a number of purges happening back then. And I confronted him to his face about it. I would tell you to look it up on YouTube, but you won't find it there anymore. But you can find it on my BitChute channel. Just search Press for Truth, Eric Schmidt. And what's interesting about that, Jason, is it was just 5 days later, after me and Luke Rudowski and Josh Friedman, a couple of us confronted him. It was 5 days later that my YouTube channel got completely demonetized. It's when they pulled the plug on me being able to make any kind of finances. I'm not necessarily saying there's a connection there, but it seems kind of funny that the former head of Google and the guy I just confronted on film, it was heading up YouTube, and then they cut my finances off just after that. And then here we are a little more than a year later, and I'm completely cut off from YouTube. Yeah, I think it's safe to say the man doesn't like competition.
That's the craziest thing. And that's the thing. They like controlling the narrative, and they realize, especially in a situation like this, it is extremely hard to control the narrative when so many people have access to that magical box that we now have. Remember back in the day, the good old days of 2010, 2011, when we used to talk about, hey, get out there with your handy cam, or if you got one of the really good smart cams, because we were talking about iPhone 3Gs then.
Yeah.
What the problem is, though, is everybody's too busy using that device that could be a huge empowerment tool, making TikTok videos, looking at selfies all day, going through other social media feeds like Instagram that aren't providing much else other than fat asses and great meals. And they're not using it to confront the Eric Schmidts of the world when they see them. They're not using it to confront the Peter Thiels of the world when they see them, because they don't know who the fuck they are, Dan. So how do we pierce that ignorance where whenever we go to the platforms where those people are, they just cancel us?
Well, that's a good question, man. Alls I can do is continue to what I've always been doing, which is just plug away and expose this evilness and wickedness that I see in high places. And when I come across information that I feel people are going to need to be privy to, then I'm going to put it out there. And it looks like moving forward, that ain't going to be on YouTube. But as I said, I'm hopeful still. I know YouTube is where the masses are. There's a great deal, an extent to where the people that I need to reach is. I don't want to just preach to the choir, down an ideological echo chamber. That's not going to be healthy for anybody. But I'm hopeful that moving forward, something very, very amazing, incredible is going to come out of this. Maybe a new platform that we haven't even heard of is really going to take the reins, or one of these ones that I'm kind of in is really, really going to take off. But honestly, I'm hopeful in the long term. Short term, it's not looking great for me. Over the next couple of weeks, it might be a struggle. I'm going to submit an appeal. They did respond to me on Twitter, YouTube, saying, "Oh, we're sorry about your suspension. If that happened because of your community guideline strike, you can appeal it here." And I had to respond and say, there is no suspension. It literally says permanently disabled, and I had no community guideline strikes or copyright strikes. So I'm going to look into getting the channel back. But again, I'm not overly concerned about that at this point. I'm going to focus on the future, Jason, and just continue to do the work that I've been doing, and just have a bit of faith and trust in God, to guide me, in my viewers, to come find me on these other platforms where I'm going to be. I just have faith moving forward that it's going to be okay, and I think it will.
I love you, man. I talked about you today in a couple videos, because you are a genuine person, and I know that you take your life, your religion very seriously, and I know you take being honest very seriously. So, those are two of the biggest things. And in fact, before you got thrown out, I watched your video last night because I wanted to see what you had to say again about Wayfair. I'm not sure if you've been watching my stuff, but out of the gates when I started covering it, I was pretty skeptical. A few things had already been debunked. You actually played part of the video that I had been referring to, and I showed with my interview in Robbie Martin. And in these times where the most notorious sex offender, billionaire, connected, possible intelligence asset we've ever had in custody doesn't kill himself twice, and we just get his partner in crime, and all of a sudden this pops up and it's being promoted by the you-know-who crowd. You know what I'm saying? I have nothing but respect for you. And then that's the last video you get to put out. I mean, talk about that. Right now, the Wayfair phenomenon is sweeping the internet almost everywhere. And people like myself and yourself, who have been in this game well over a decade and done our best to tell the truth and already pointed out some very, very peculiar and odd things with it, well, we get shouted down, we get censored, but yet that makes its wave on the internet.
Yeah. Well, here's the crazy thing, Jason, is before some of my videos started getting deleted because of COVID, that started happening rapidly this year. But before that, there wasn't really videos of mine just being deleted out of nowhere. Only a couple. One in particular really stood out for me because it was the first time, just out of nowhere, something was deleted, and I was like, oh, what the heck happened? And the video was me exposing child pedophilia, basically, and I can't remember the title of the video, but it got removed. It was on BitChute, and it kind of got a lot of views there. But I was exposing how they're grooming children for sex, and basically that's the one that YouTube decided to pull. And so I thought that was interesting back then, and then now here we are. Last night I make a video stating that there is a global child sex trafficking ring that is involving famous, influential, powerful, wealthy people, and some of them, the likes of people you've all heard and maybe even voted for before. I said that again. I talked about Pizzagate. I talked about Wayfair. I talked about the psyops that are going on with both of those, and lo and behold, within less than a day later, everything is gone, completely killed, shut down. A lot of people think I was over the target, and perhaps that's why they eliminated me today. It's really tough to say. But if that is the case, boy, oh boy, that says a lot about who they're trying to protect. And as you said, we got Ghislaine Maxwell about to take trial, about to take stand. There's all kinds of people who are very concerned about what she may or may not be saying about them. So there's a lot of heat right now, a lot of things happening. So I think they're trying to kind of make sure that voices like mine don't have the ability to influence the situation against them. So yeah, man, it's crazy, and that's why I fear for your channel too. You've been talking about a lot of these things for a long time as well, man. So
I think I'm still a little bit under the radar. I put out a lot of content. I got a little MMA in here, but again, when I wake up and they're taking down a video I put up in early April, and it's a guy that gets covered by the New York Times. It's and they actually cited that the WHO, well, it's against the WHO, so it doesn't go in their guidelines. Excuse me, the World Health Organization is not a government entity, has nothing to do with our Constitution and Bill of Rights, has no authority over what you or I should be doing with our lives. In fact, one of the better things that this president has done is tried to get us out. It's going to be another 12 months or so before he does. There are problems with what he's spending the money on, but at the same time, I'm not going to be beholden to unelected globalists, literal globalists that I've been exposing, like you said, for well over a decade. And I made a movie about called Invisible Empire, A New World Order Defined, hosted on this very platform that's already been buried. It's just a nutty Orwellian situation that we live with every day. Pressfortruth.ca is where you can always find Dan's work. I'm really going to encourage him to get on Rockfin, because the cool thing about Rockfin, Dan, is not only are they not going to get rid of you, but you're paid in tokens based on people paying a fee. So like a $9.99 a month fee, it's flat. And you get paid in those tokens, which are now part of the network, because everybody gets paid in them. So it's like you have stock in the network if you want to keep those tokens and not just cash out. So they have a vested interest in you bringing people in and then watching it. It's a pay-to-play outside of like a Minds where everybody can join, because everybody's trying to join that next big thing. But the thing may be, if I pay $10 a month and I have 100 independent journalists that are giving me news I can't find anywhere else, this could be the next big thing. And by the way, it's also started by Martin Florani, the guy behind Flow Sports, which had a business model and is a successful one. So that BitChute channel. And I'm into that live stream going. So Dan froze up on me. You still there, brother?
Got you back now. Yep.
Awesome. So finish it off for me. I mean, tell people how they can support you right now and what they need to be doing. Should they? I'm encouraging them. You got a response on Twitter? Hit them on Twitter. Did you do YouTube or YouTube creators, please?
Yeah, please hit up my Twitter and retweet the ones where I'm tweeting at YouTube, at Team YouTube. Reach out to them yourself and let them know this is a grave injustice that needs to be rectified. The best thing people can do right now, Jason, is to subscribe to me on those other platforms. BitChute, Library, Minds, Float. I put out a video today. All the links are in the description of that, and hopefully you can have some of those links as well. But that's the most important thing right now. Also, moving forward, I will need people's financial support, because this is a multifaceted attack. They are attacking me financially as well. So a good way to do that is through pressfortruth.ca/donate. There you can do Bitcoin or PayPal or become a patron or things like that. You can also use Subscribestar or a Patreon alternative. There's lots of different ways that you can donate there. But anything is greatly, greatly appreciated moving forward, Jason, because I'm not going to let this thing slow me down. I'm not going to let this wound in the information war stop me. That's for sure. This has really just got me fired up and making me want to produce even better, more hard-hitting content to be coming from Press for Truth in the coming days and in the coming years. In fact, it's just going to be on a different platform than the one we happen to be on today.
Awesome, man. And again, if there's anything I can do to help, and again, I've been trying to expand beyond YouTube. I'd love the AM and FM radio, either one. Or obviously I do the podcast thing, but the thing is that old school radio is still beholden to those advertisers and that old school format, but it reaches a lot of people. There's a lot of ways to get out there, and I know you're going to keep doing your thing because you have been able to find a way for over a decade. So God bless you, bro, of Press for Truth. My good friend, somebody who, again, has done great work for a very, very, very long time, and somebody that we need to support. So, guys, I can't tell you enough about the guy. He's the legit deal. Pressfortruth.ca. They gave him no warning, no strikes, and I've got none of those either. But when I see some of my videos get taken down, I get worried. So, again, support me over on GoFundMe. I hope they don't take me down. Again, you heard it. GoFundMe just dropped Dan Dix, and he's never been able to talk to somebody else. Let's hope that doesn't happen here. He can't even log into his account. Make sure you are subscribed, thumbing the video up, sharing. Guys, I think I'm still going to do the Ghislaine Maxwell indictment deep dive coming up later this evening. I'm not sure if I'm going to go out and grab something to eat first. Probably. I'm out in South Dakota because of you guys. I'm a documentary filmmaker. Loose Change, Final Cut, Fabled Enemies, Invisible Empire, A New World Order Defined, and Shade the Motion Picture are free right here. But you can also support me on Rockfin. And we did a free Rockfin exclusive thanking all you supporters and explaining why it's such a great platform. So go check that out as well. I love you guys. It's not about left or right. It's about right and wrong. And we are under attack right now. Censorship.